Welcome to TORAH Talk. I am your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number something, 51 of TNT, the Twisted New Testament, with that wonderfully crazy, awesome dude, Rabbi from Houston, Texas. Rabbi, welcome back to the show. Hey, where'd he go? Hang on a second. Okay, bear with me. I think I must have lost him here. Hang on just a second. We'll let the music dangle on just for a second here. Okay, hold on. Let me try to call him back again. Actually, I need to turn the music down because I won't be able to hear him very well otherwise. So let me just pause the music. Well, it's good to see everybody here tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Sorry, everything was rocking and rolling, and then all of a sudden it's just, it was like, the paycheck. It just disappeared there for a second. So let me call him back real fast. Where's my Skype window? Bear with me. And there it is. Let's call him again. See if he will answer his phone. Handsome guy there. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Well, that's weird. He usually answers by now. Especially when he's sitting at the computer. Well, that's just kind of odd. Oh, now it's ringing. That's probably why I didn't answer yet. Okay, cool. Y'all bear with me. Hey, this is gonna be a great show tonight, so y'all sit tight. Wow, that's really loud. Let me turn it down anyway. Well, okay, well, I think I know maybe what's going on here. In fact, if you'll give me about 10 seconds, I think I might be able to resolve this entire situation. Just to be on the safe side, I should... oh my God, there you are! What are you doing here, man?
I just had nothing else better to do, so I thought I'd just drop by. I was in the neighborhood, so I thought I'd come in.
Oh my gosh. You guys have no idea how long we planned. Oh. Let me see if I can get this thing centered up now. I can get rid of that silly Skype screen. That was really cool. That was really cool. Look at that. What? Hey, we thought you guys would like that. That was awesome.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It was more fun planning it out.
The plan was much better than the execution. I should have done like this behind you and all sorts of,
Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, that was epic, man. Okay, let me get rid of the Skype window so we can.
I am here and I'm alive.
Yay! That is so cool. Are you going to do some beatbox? Really? Oh, that's the wrong one. You were going to do some beatbox rap, wasn't you?
No. Nope.
Okay.
No, that's before that's after my time.
Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. I got rid of that screen now. Very good. Oh yeah. Whoa. You can't get away without the finger dance. Oh my. Oh, that's funny. Okay. All right. So, Rabbi did the finger dance. Julie, we didn't even see your statement, and we got you fit in there.
Yep.
Not a problem. Okay. So now I need to adjust the screen for you since you can't reach it. Bear with me.
No, I can read that.
I know, but it's so big we might miss some of the text.
Well, we probably will.
That's okay. All right. Well, yeah, it's going to. So, okay. So here's your mouse. You use this one and use only the scroller. Don't push any buttons. Just use the scroller here.
Only the roller.
The roller disc right there, and then you can follow along with that while I pay attention to all the other stuff. Man, it is so cool. That was the fun. That's the funnest time I've had in the studio in probably ever, actually. Since the last time you were here with me, actually. That was cool.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Probably a couple of years, isn't it?
Yes, it has. Shame on you.
I know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, but we may have the opportunity more in this next few months.
Next couple months at least.
Yeah, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Yep. I got to go back and watch this now to see how well I pulled it off. Because actually, when you're doing it, you don't know.
The planning and the talking about it was the best.
Oh, that was great. That was great. Okay, so all of you realized, or you saw already, that the topic for tonight is we're going to start off topic anyway. We're going to open up the phone lines here in just a minute.
Startup topic.
Yeah, the startup topic is going to be.
That's because I hit it when I. Yeah. All right.
That's okay. So, with all that said, the startup topic for tonight is the idea that so many are struggling with when a lot of people leave the New Testament when they start to detach themselves from the Jesus figure, the first thing they try to do is cling on for dear life. They can't just drop it cold turkey. They have to let go in little pieces and just slowly loosen that grip. And so the topic tonight, starting off with, is: can I still believe in Jesus as long as I don't think he's a God? As long as I don't think he is God.
And otherwise, I can still believe in him, and he's still my Savior. I just don't think he was God.
Right.
There's no Trinity.
Right.
So therefore, I'm okay. And unfortunately, that's a misconception. Is it better? Yes, because then it's no longer as idolatrous. But the problem with it is that a person is still believing in things that are unbiblical.
Right.
They're still believing that God becomes excuse me, that's not what they believe. I just got rid of that.
Right.
In the whole dying, saving man God bit, they're getting rid of the man God. They're just keeping the dying, saving. And the dying, saving is just as much unbiblical as the man God is.
But is it idolatrous?
It is not idolatrous, but it's still not Judaism, and it's still unbiblical.
Still unacceptable.
So you still have to reject it as unbiblical.
So it's kind of like saying, can I, as long as I stop robbing banks, can I still commit adultery on my wife? And the answer is no, you can't. It's like it doesn't matter which one is worse or less.
Things. Right, exactly.
They're two separate things.
Right.
They're both wrong.
Right. So
got it.
What makes it not everything is idolatrous, but just because it's not idolatrous doesn't mean it's okay as far as the Bible is concerned. Okay. Deuteronomy 24:16, Ezekiel 18. These are the verses that come to mind with the dying, saving part. So the idea is that Jesus died for my sins. He's not God, but he died for my sins. So can another person die for your sins?
No.
No. The other thing is that Christianity will say you have to have a blood sacrifice for the forgiveness of sin. I mean, this comes up all over the place, and we already know you don't have to have a blood sacrifice for the forgiveness of sin, so there's no reason to go over the whole thing. But they'll still say you have to have a blood sacrifice, and then it becomes Jesus was that sacrifice, but you don't have to have a blood sacrifice. You can't have a human as the sacrifice. If they say that you have to have a blood sacrifice for the forgiveness of sin, what was the thing that actually died? They're no longer saying that it was Jesus the God who died. They're only saying that it was Jesus the human who died, and that is just as bad. That's just as unbiblical.
Right.
Okay. The other thing is that he died for my sins. Deuteronomy 24:16, every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Again, these are all quotations that probably everybody who listens to us knows are there. We don't have to rehash it.
Sure.
But just because a person rejects the divinity of Jesus, the supposed divinity of Jesus, doesn't mean, now everything else they believe must be okay or acceptable. Well, it's just as unbiblical.
Yeah, right.
So close, but no cigar.
Right.
Closer, but no cigar.
And I have experienced people who are really struggling with letting go, and
that's what brought this up.
Right.
Because in an email exchange I had with someone, this is what they were trying to tell me, and I was trying to explain to them, you're not looking at the whole picture. You're just taking one little isolated thing that you think is all that Jews object to, and then taking all the rest. And that's not what's going on.
Right. It does remind me of relationships where boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever the case may be, and the wife catches wind that her husband may be cheating on her, and she's like, no, I don't believe that, even though it may be actually happening, and she denies it to the core. And even when she finds out, she convinces herself that it wasn't really that bad, because, and just to be able to hang on,
right?
And same with
he never loved her,
right? Oh yeah, right. He did it, but he didn't actually love her, right. And same with women who get abused. They will find excuse after excuse to go back or to stay. And it's one of those hard things to detach from. I mean, to be honest with you, I went through that a little bit before I left the Messianic movement. I was thinking, there's got to be something about Jesus that's kosher. There's got to be. And I was like, but the more I dug, I was thinking, oh my gosh, right, there really isn't. Yeah. So it's really, there's your answer right there.
Right. In a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah.
But they first of all, they think they're going to ingratiate themselves to the Jewish community by saying, we no longer think that, or I no longer think that he's divine. I don't believe in the Trinity. And they forget the whole dying, saving man God as a totality is Hellenist.
Right.
It's not Judaism. It's not biblical. So they may be getting rid of part of it, but what's left is still Hellenist.
Sure.
The dying, saving man God part. The half man, half God bit may be pushed away, but the dying, saving part that you get also in pagan gods, idolatrous gods,
right.
the idolatry of the Mediterranean, because in Greek, it's Roman, Phrygian, North African, I mean, it's all over the place. You still have to reject it as unbiblical. And until they do that, they are still Christian.
Right.
Because even if they reject the divinity part, what makes them still Christian is that Jesus still has something whatsoever, anything whatsoever to do with them that they think is special or elevated or for their benefit or whatever. You have to get rid of that too.
You said something that made me think of a video that I was watching. The last few days, I've been kind of spotting around on YouTube because I've got a few testimonies on my show where people have left Jesus. They left the New Testament. And one major title out there is Why I Left Christianity. And I found this one video. And this preacher's kid, a girl, she looked like she might be 35. A black girl, and she said that she wanted to have a talk with her dad, the preacher, and it was really funny. She said, Dad, she goes, you know, we've been going to church for all these years and all this stuff, and she goes, I've got questions that I don't see, you know, any answers to from the pastors, you know, and the funny thing is, when she presented him the question or the topic, he was like, "Let me get back with you on that," because he didn't know either, you know. And so the more I see this, here's the kicker, and this is what made it stick in my head so much, is because it was such a great point she made. She said, "Dad," she goes, "tell me," she goes, "if you can explain this to me," she goes, "I'll be open-minded and I'll reinvestigate everything I question as long as you can answer me this one question." And he said, "Shoot, go for it." She said, "Tell me, why is it that the story of Jesus in the New Testament follows the same storyline of just about every other pagan god that existed?"
Exactly.
And he basically told her, you know how it is when you talk with somebody that's, "Oh yeah, we'll talk about the Bible,"
right.
And then the very first thing they do is insult you, right? Her dad did this to her in a very subtle way because he didn't know the answer to it.
Right.
And then he said, "Let me get back with you on that." Right. And so, which means that there you go. It led her right down that path.
You know what the Christian response is?
Which is?
Satan planted all of this in mythology,
right?
So that by the time Christianity came around, hundreds of years later, then it could be rejected as pagan.
Wow.
That's the only reason it's the same.
Interesting. You know, speaking of similarities, I still find it astonishing how the storylines of several stories in the New Testament really are plagiarizing the story of Moses.
Yeah, but that's intentional. Look, remember,
to make it look like people think it's kosher, right?
And because if people respect, if your target audience is the Jewish community who's already familiar with Moses, and there is a line that says there's someone who's going to come up just like Moses, right, and then you present the same basic stories about Jesus, well, then it must be Jesus who is the one spoken of.
Exactly.
The problem is that, as we've discussed before, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John never met Jesus. All of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were written 30 to 60 years plus after Jesus was dead and buried. They didn't know him. So they used as their blueprints, when they were like blueprints to a construction worker, how to build the stories, they used the Hebrew scriptures as their model, as their blueprints. And so Moses gave a Sermon on the Mount. Moses gave law on the mountain.
Right.
Well, Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount. By the way, I don't know if you have ever investigated this. You probably have known this forever, and I just stumbled across it. You know how the rabbis will take a look at the Torah, and every time there is a law given, they'll write it down, count them up, 613, right?
Okay, right.
If you use the exact same system for how and what you count as a law.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Caller, sit tight 1 second.
Just give me 1 second. If you use the same system of see a verse, determine if it's a law, and if you say it's a law, write it down. How many do you think there are of exactly the same kind of laws that were counted to be part of the 613? How many in the New Testament? Verses exactly the same way that were therefore considered to be a law, just like how they were worded in the Hebrew Scriptures, in the Torah. How many do you think there would be that Jesus gave in the Gospels?
Honestly, I don't know.
Over 1,000. Over 1,000.
I didn't know that.
And how can you keep 613 laws? Really? How can you keep over 1,000 in the New Testament?
You know, to compliment
and
that.
there's on the internet somewhere, I ran across, I wish I knew what I did with it, but there's a list.
No kidding.
Here's what Jesus said, therefore it's a law. Here's the scriptural verse, where to find it. Over 1,000.
And if you really want to fry your noodle, in 2014, Texas passed in 2014 alone over 2,000. I think it was actually more like 20,000, but over 2,000 laws were passed in 2014.
Just in 1 year.
Just in 1 year. And I'm thinking, and you think that it's problem keeping 613 or 365 or whatever the case may be for the 65 for the Noahide laws? When somebody asks you or tells you can't do them all, ask them if they abide by all the laws of the U.S. government. They'll say, of course I do. You can't possibly. You don't even know what they are. How can you possibly abide by them? It's a similar concept.
Wait.
Right?
Yes. Okay, we have a caller.
Yes.
We're going to come back to Mitzvah Golem.
Okay, let's do that.
Origen wrote the first Old Testament? I think he means New Testament.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay, caller, welcome to the show. Thanks
Yes.
for being patient with us. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Brock, Southeast Missouri.
Hey, Brock, welcome back, brother. How are you?
Hi, Brock.
My question about it is that isn't a lot of things that Jesus tried to teach kind of exactly the opposite of what a lot of the laws actually say that you should do?
In some respects, definitely. And then he tried to justify it, in the same doing. And the best example is, grabbing the weed as they went by.
Oh, yeah.
Is an example. Is that what you meant?
Actually, it is. My point is how can you not believe in Jesus or anything like that as the Messiah if I'm not asking like why you don't. I'm saying
right.
How can you believe he doesn't have the divine authority if he has the ability to just change the laws? Because if I remember correct, Moses.
Go ahead.
If I remember correct, Moses is supposed to be the greatest prophet that has ever been, and even he wouldn't have been able to do that kind of a thing.
Well, changing laws, right?
Because Moses wasn't God. However, Christians will say, well, Jesus has the right to change it because he's God.
Mm-hmm.
My Bible says, for I am God and not a man, but somehow Jesus gets to be God. Brock, still there?
I'm still here.
All right.
I'm just listening.
Yeah, that's good. That's
right.
a perfect. That's exactly the way my take is too, because whether he's God or whether he's the Son of God. Well, if he's the Son of God, it's like Trump Towers, right? Well, his son can pretty much do whatever he wants as long as it's within certain realms. And so, even if they'd say Jesus isn't God, he's God's son. Well, he still has more power than any human ever did. So they would still justify it and say that he has the authority to change it.
Right.
Which is nonsense, of course. So. Okay, Brock, thank you for your question, brother.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
shalom. All right, where is my... Man, I got too many mice and rodents around here. Okay, he already hung up. Okay, good. So phone lines are open, 855-95-BIBLE. We're going to get right back to Mitzvah Golem. Let's let you scroll back. Use the scroller. Actually, put your mouse over here. It's here now. Use your thumber. Go that way.
Oh.
There you go. And now once you get down this region, you can scroll.
Okay.
Okay, so while you're looking that up, another point that was brought up on a post was there was one of my friends on Facebook.
Right. Mitzvah Golem, you're correct.
Good.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, this was
Mitzvah Golem, you're correct. The rabbi, the scholars that translated the Septuagint only translated it into the Greek, the Torah, not the entire Tanakh. And the rest of the Nach was translated by people of varying ability, unknown people, varying quality, may or may not have known what they were doing, but that is what became known as the Septuagint. Remember, the Jewish community thought that the Greek translation was a national tragedy. So it wasn't the Jews who wanted to keep the... Wait, I come all this distance and you're putting only me up on the screen?
We're still
together. Oh, there you go. Okay,
We're still together.
Right, you see, you confused me with
I'm
these
trying to sneak you.
fancy screens. Okay, so, but Mitzvah Golem, you're right. The Septuagint really only refers to the first 5 books. That Septuagint, as I remember the history, is lost, and the Jewish community wouldn't have kept it anyway. They kind of like use the Hebrew. So the unknown people of varying quality did the rest of the Nach, and I think later their own Septuagint, and that's what became known as the Septuagint, and is used by the Christian community. So Mitzvah Golem, you're right.
And
I think you said Origen wrote the first OT. I think you meant NT.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the terms, Nach, it would be the prophets and the writings. So
Lisa D, your husband says Jesus is not human, that's why he is God. But if he wasn't human, then what exactly did the dying on the cross? That means God died? How can God die? By definition, he can't die.
Speaking of which, you brought up something one time that I'd never heard before.
What was that?
It's mind-blowing.
Sometimes a blind mouse will find cheese.
Mind-blowing. If you think about this, I mean, a sacrifice is something you give up permanently. So if Jesus knew he was going to rise from the dead, then he didn't give up anything. He knew he was coming back. There was no sacrifice. The sacrifices have to stay dead. So even if he was a sacrifice, 3 days later, he totally screwed the whole thing up.
Right. The Christian community, the minister on my radio show, would say that Jesus was God who put on a jacket of skin. Well, if he didn't die, all he did was take his coat off. No, seriously, that's all. He didn't die. He just took this outer shell off.
That's very true.
And therefore, there's no death to save them from their sin,
right?
According to the way they word it. So, if Jesus is God and kept the mitzvah perfectly, then that means he brought offerings to himself. Michael, that's funny and correct. Jesus was a sacrifice of himself to himself after making his mother pregnant with himself.
That's scary.
Yes.
Okay, so pause on this real quick.
Yes.
Okay, so on Facebook, I had a post. You probably saw it, just about anybody who was a
child of
preacher
I thought that was
or whatever.
Brilliant.
A lady.
And yes.
A lady commented. One person that was out of the ordinary comment.
Yeah.
She had her Facebook title was a Jewish name. Very very sweet, calm. Okay, and so she said, she goes, well, I believe in the New Testament and the Hebrew Scriptures. She goes, what's the problem?
Right. 150 messages later.
Yeah. So you kind of followed along with that. Okay, so she said something that I think is a very important thing to cover, and she said, I tell you what, I said, we've covered this. I said, I'll give you a few links. Okay, and we talked about certain things. She goes, yeah, but they're Orthodox. She says they're Orthodox or they're Jewish rabbis. She goes, they wouldn't believe in Jesus anyway. My point being this: if you're going to look for a truth, shouldn't you go to every source available? Shouldn't you especially go to the source for the people who don't believe it to find out why they don't believe it, instead of going to some?
If it's the Jews who invented the concept of Messiah to begin with,
they should know what it's about.
Wouldn't they be the most likely to know who fits it?
Yeah, they'd be the most reliable source.
Right.
So the irony
so in order to get her answers, you could only go to people who are already Christian.
You know, I did that for years. When I started questioning things, I would go to my Messianic teachers, and I would say, the virgin thing, blah blah blah, the whole thing about the Nazarite thing, and all blah 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 blah, and they would explain it to me in a way that would keep me right where I was at. And so, but after a while, I was thinking, that still doesn't make sense. So that's when I reached out, and the very first time I reached out and talked to a Jewish rabbi that was not Messianic, not Christian, and he explained it.
Real rabbi.
Within a minute, had answered two major life-changing questions that no one had been able to answer
You
before.
see how dangerous it is to start asking questions? Because
Mm-hmm.
you never know where the answer is going to lead
life-changing,
you. And
yeah.
once you hear the answer, you can't unlearn it.
Right.
It's very
right.
dangerous.
That's
it's a very
wonderful.
scary thing to do.
You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make
Set
you free.
you free.
Okay. Hey, Mitch, good to see you, brother. Pitcher throws a perfect game. Doesn't mean complete. Doesn't. Whoa. Does it mean he completed baseball? Does it mean stop playing? Oh, that's fine.
He would have either have spoken Hebrew or Aramaic. He might have been acquainted with Greek, maybe.
Are you talking about
But
this?
yes, Missouri Reaper, the lingua franca, the go translate that. The spoken language of the day
Okay.
for the Jewish community in Israel would have been either Hebrew or Aramaic. And Aramaic is a dialect of Hebrew. If you understand Hebrew and you hear someone speaking Aramaic, it'll sound like somebody with a weird accent.
Ah, I see.
But
Right.
if you listen carefully, you can different variations of vocabulary, and there are other issues too. But you can pretty well understand it. Do you remember when Mel Gibson did the movie about Jesus,
The Passion?
the Passion of the Christ, and he had most of it, or some of it, or all of it in Aramaic?
Mm-hmm.
About a half an hour in, I started realizing I understood what they were saying.
Oh, because it was
Because it
very
was
similar
Aramaic.
language.
Because
Ah,
it's a dialect of Hebrew.
interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow.
Jesus might have known a little Greek because to survive. I also think there's a possibility that Jesus and the Jewish community, because they had to get along with Rome, would have known Latin, at least a little bit. So, yeah. But Missouri Reaper, by and large, you're right. The Hebrew, Aramaic, maybe a little smattering of Latin, maybe a little smattering of Greek, but mainly Hebrew and Aramaic.
Interesting. Go ahead and let's scroll down.
Right.
Hey, Lori, Motorhead, Fernando Colon. Phone lines are open again, guys.
Mitch FTD. If a pitcher throws a perfect game, does it mean he completed baseball? Does it mean we stop playing? My analogy, which you actually may have heard already once before, but it's like a person's driving a car in front of you and he comes to a stop sign and he obeys the laws of stopping at a stop sign perfectly. That means that nobody from that point on ever has to stop at a stop sign again because it was
Right.
It was done perfectly.
Right.
Right. But I like your pitcher thing too.
That's awesome.
So.
Oh,
Let's
my.
see. Or Klingon.
Guys need to call in. It's easier to talk to you on the phone than it is to scan through all the questions and comments. So.
All right, Motorhead, you're right. The prayers are still in Hebrew. There are some prayers in the Jewish prayer book that are Aramaic. As a matter of fact, let's see. Right, like somebody from the UK going to the south of the U.S. Let's see. I think that's pretty much everything we
Yeah,
covered now.
that's good.
Okay. By the way, you want to see a neat special effect since I'm actually in Houston?
Yes. That's the new 3D.
You got such incredible electronics here to be able to do that.
Oh man, that was funny. I can't wait till we stop so I
Yes,
can go back
exactly.
and watch
The
the show.
Kaddish is Aramaic, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anytime
I
you
didn't
get a
know
lot
that.
of olives on the end of a word, if you have a lot of words in the
Oh.
text that's a lot of olives on the end of the word, you can pretty well figure out it's Kaddish. It's Aramaic.
How about that? Oh,
Yep.
you're going to have to scroll. Let me see your mouse.
Nope, sorry.
That's all right. Welcome to the show. Please tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Brock again.
Brock.
Hi again.
Brock, listen, man, I know you miss us, but, I mean, just come visit, okay?
Come visit.
What's up? What's the question for us?
All right, I guess since no one else is calling, I'll ask another question. Doesn't it kind of goes with the first one about Jesus changing the laws? Doesn't it say somewhere in the Torah that if someone tries to change the laws, that's how you know they're a false prophet?
Yeah, Deuteronomy 13, Deuteronomy 18.
Basically, if somebody comes to you, says he's going to do a miracle, he does the miracle, but his message contradicts what you already know to have come from God, reject him, reject his message. The miracles don't prove the message proves the messenger. The message has to be in consonance with what you already know came from God.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do when someone argues doesn't the Jewish religion say follow, or something to the effect of follow the majority?
Oh, that's in the oral law. There's a whole thing Bashamayim, right?
Wait, what?
There's a deal
Beit
about
Shammai?
no.
What?
No. What is it in the oral law?
Yes.
There's a discussion or something about the Bashamayim, like for the sake of heaven, whatever.
Argument for the sake of heaven?
Yeah. Didn't that have to do with something about you should only follow a majority if something? I don't know. I'm getting stories mixed up.
Remember, you're talking about one of the original democracies.
Okay.
Okay. So, as a matter of fact, I used to remember his name. He was the president of Harvard in 1774. He said, the Democratic Republic, words to the effect of the Democratic Republic we're creating today is based on the Democratic Republic of the rabbis of old.
Oh, wow.
Words to that effect.
Okay.
I can find the exact quote. I know exactly where the book is. But it's a democracy. So you've got rabbis who will debate or argue over the application of a value that is Torah, that's from God. Okay, over what was modern to them, to their day, some issue that came up. And the majority, literally they will vote on it. The Talmud records the majority vote, the minority vote, and the arguments of each for the proposition. So
Right.
let's take it to a modern context. Passover will be coming up in a few months. So there's this new invention called a microwave.
Mm-hmm.
How do you clean it for Passover?
Mm-hmm.
So the rabbis, if they were back then, would have
They'll get together, come to an agreement.
They will come. The school will come together. They'll take case law. What happened with this new oven? What about this way of cleaning? What about this way of cooking? How were those cleaned? What's the issues going on? And they will take the majority votes then and see if they apply to the circumstance of the modern day. It's case law. It's exactly how modern law works, in the United States as well.
Right.
So, and then put it up to a vote, and you go according to the majority.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
But still, remember something. It's based on Torah. Torah is from God. Therefore, the conclusions they come up with are also considered to be from God as well. So,
Brock, does that answer your question, brother?
Brock?
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right.
Thanks. Talk to you soon. That's cool.
I hope that was clear.
Yeah, I thought it was. Okay, let's say it's okay. I didn't follow all that, so here. I'll give you.
Mitch FTD is saying, is that what you were talking? Okay.
Actually, I don't know. I think
right.
he commented on.
Two rabbis are arguing with each other, okay, based on their knowledge and their approaches to Jewish law and all the usual stuff. As long as they are doing it for the sake of heaven, not their own personal ego, not for financial gain. But they're doing it because they really try to figure out what is it that God wants from us.
Right.
Then either one, Elu ve'elu, are the words of the living God. Go ahead.
Okay, caller. Thanks for tuning in. You are live on the air. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
I'm Shulamit Sager, calling from Florida.
Welcome to Texas and to the show. What's the question
Thank you.
for today?
Can the rabbi please explain the truth and what the Goyim say about this business of the stick putting together? I can think it's Judah and Ephraim, the whole business.
Right. Okay.
These sticks become one.
Right.
What they say and the truth.
Yes, it's a prophecy of a future time. One stick represents the southern kingdom, one stick represents the northern kingdom, and there will be a time when the Messiah comes when you've got a reunification of the southern and northern kingdoms into the Jewish people. You've heard the term the 10 lost tribes?
Yes.
Okay, so when the 10 lost tribes are completely found and reunited with the other Jewish community, okay, then that's the image given by these two sticks coming together. Okay, who are the sticks again?
Judah,
and
then all the northern kingdoms.
The northern
right?
kingdoms. Yeah.
I think it's Judah and Ephraim. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah.
The
southern kingdom is Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites. So all the other tribes.
Right,
basically.
but you have to remember that the southern kingdom, the name of the southern kingdom was Judah. not just the tribe of Judah, but
Right.
the southern kingdom's name was Judah, but it incorporated members of every single one of the tribes.
I thought it was
That's
just.
where we get the word
I thought it
Jew
was
from.
just Benjamin and.
No.
The southern kingdom.
Second Chronicle. Oh, see, I don't have my stuff because
Here.
that's back in Houston, but it's in Second Chronicles, and I can't remember chapter and verse.
We'll
of
pull it up.
course, but it's in Second Chronicles. I think it's the second chapter. But at any rate, it talks
go.
about all of the tribes in Judah. So
Okay.
that's why the word Jew doesn't only mean people from the tribe of Judah.
Did you say Second Chronicles?
Yeah, it was Second Chronicles. I think it's the second chapter. Take us a long time to find it.
That's okay. Okay, but the basic meaning of it is during the Messianic
But
age,
in the
they will be
Messianic
merged,
age, all of the tribes will be regathered
gathered.
and
Unified.
become one again.
Okay.
You also get this in the prophecy of Jeremiah 31:27, Jeremiah 31:31.
Oh, right.
I think it's second. Well, okay. At any rate, Jeremiah 31:27 talks about it.
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
And what are the Goyim saying about this?
Behold it.
What are the?
That's how they incorporate themselves. in
Right.
it.
Behold, the days come, saith the Eternal, that I will
Oh.
sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast.
Okay, so I think what
31:27.
clarify for me if I'm right or wrong on what I think you're saying. So like the Goyim, the nations of the world, they're trying to fit themselves like Christianity. They try to do replacement theology, and they think that they're part of the true Israel and part of Judah. Is that kind of where you're headed? Like, why do they think that they're part of that?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so can you cover some of that as to how to deal with
If
it?
I understand her question correctly, what that is dealing with is that you have the whole image of plants, sticks, where you take one plant and
Grafting.
God couldn't think of the word.
Grafting.
Graft one plant onto another plant, and they see themselves as being like that. So when you take the two sticks together, it's like grafting them together, and because they see themselves as grafted in, which they're not, it's a Christian concept, not
Right.
a Jewish one.
Right.
That's how they understand the coming together, okay, of how there'll be neither Jew nor Greek,
Oh yes. Male nor female.
male nor female, which is going to be a real interesting one. And that it's like a unification of the whole world under Jesus and all that. So
Right.
okay, I wish we could find. Can you do a search?
We sure
on
can.
the,
If you
the
would
two
like
sticks.
to, do you want to clarify anything, or if you want to, you could just go ahead and hang up, and we'll free up the phone lines, and you can listen in more for your answers. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank
calling
you.
in. Appreciate
Thanks
that.
for listening.
Okay. Cool. Phone lines are back open. Feel free to call in.
Okay, but
what are we
pull
looking
pull
for?
that up again. It's the two sticks. I want to see
Here,
it
let me just look for it here.
in context.
Let's go.
You know, I really never should
Yeah, that's
go off
okay.
the top of my head. I should always look it up. But I left all my stuff back at the. That's my excuse.
You know, my wife called me a pecker. Yeah, laugh. Okay, because hold this right here.
You hunt and peck.
Because hold it right there.
Right.
Because this is how I type. Like a chicken. Oh
Hunt
boy.
and peck.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Oh, I'm typing on the wrong keyboard anyway. No wonder it wouldn't respond. Okay. I typed all that in by pecking, and it didn't even show up on the screen.
right.
What a bonehead. Okay. So. Let's see what this search is up for. Ezekiel 37, maybe? Oh, that's what you said already. Ezekiel 37, 15 through 17. Let's see if that's it.
Yeah, the two sticks. That's it. No.
Oh, that's Jeremiah. Okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Okay, Ezekiel 37. And what verses was 15? Yep, there it
Take
is.
one stick and write upon it for Judah, and for the other one for Israel, his companions. Take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, and the other stick for Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. Join them for yourself one to another into one stick, that they may become one in your hand. So it's the unification of Judah, the southern kingdom, with Israel, the northern kingdom. Okay, and it's also the Joseph. Remember, Joseph had two half tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh.
Right.
So for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. So,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay, well, cool.
I'd have to look at more of a commentary on that, by the way, because when it says Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel is included like one verse above it. For Judah and for the children of Israel, and then it says for the house of Israel.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I'd like to see what the commentary says.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
37, I forgot what it said.
What did? Oh, I forgot.
It doesn't matter.
There it goes. Oh, I closed that off.
37:15. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Here we go. Mitch, you're Jewish. That's funny. Okay, cool. All right, well, guys, you got to give us a call. Phone lines are open again.
Yep.
Otherwise, we want to keep chit-chatting. So, so what would be your advice?
Just one.
Yep.
Just
scroll. There you go.
Yaakov. I can't read it from here.
Where you at?
Agor's, Enor. I can't remember. I can't see what it says.
This one, who cares what the Goyim
Jacob
think?
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yaakov.
Yeah, who cares what the Goyim think? I had there's a guy, he is Hispanic, but he's clearly a Christian missionary. He keeps coming around my synagogue and our congregational activities. And, eventually they lower their cover. And we were talking about something, and he said, "Oh, but Jesus said," and I interrupted. I said, "Yeah, but who cares what he thinks?"
Right.
And he was like,
Right. I noticed that there's a clean starter. I want to see if there's. I want to make sure I'm not taking things out of context, but it looks like here. Say, shalom. Let's take this call. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name. Where are you calling from? Hello. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi. You are live.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're live on the air. What is the question you have for us tonight?
Okay. My question is can you still be friends with someone who don't believe in one God and they believe in JC? And I would like to know, how would you go about still being friends with them, because they're good people. And
I don't see why that would interfere with anything. I don't understand why that would interfere with the friendship, because unless you're discussing religion with them, what you can't go play baseball or go to an Astros or baseball game with them. You can't.
Well, I'm just talking like.
I think he's just asking in general.
Dinner or just visiting with them, and sometimes when the prayer thing does come up, and they do pray to JC, and that kind of bothers me.
Well, I have some advice for you. Because we have, even here at home, we still have a handful of Christian friends we still hang out with. Now, they know where we stand, and anytime they come into our home, of course, we do the prayers, so we don't have to worry about that. When we go with them, they know we just flat out won't pray with them. In fact, I'll give you another example. One of my customers, and that was probably the most awkward scenario of all, because one of my customers that I have, they're actually my favorite couple. There's an older couple, and the husband is very much a religious. He goes and teaches Bible study groups and stuff. He's an older guy. The wife is kind of, she's not so much involved. She's kind of open-minded for the most part. But they invited me to sit down to eat lunch with them. And I was like, oh sure, because I was starving. And so I sit down, and they commenced to praying. And so while they were praying their words, I prayed not over them, but alongside them with my own words. And that way, when I didn't agree with them at the end, they were more like curious on what I was praying rather than me not agreeing in Jesus' name, sort of a thing, right? So on a general rule of thumb, what Rabbi is saying is you can be friends with them.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, there's no reason not to. In fact, I mean, you could be a great light to them, and maybe eventually they would see something in you being your light, that might have them start asking questions.
Well,
so yeah,
we get along real good. But just is there a way that I should just come open to them and tell them how it is, because they know how my family feels about that, and yet they continue, because we always say a prayer before we sit down and eat, and yet they still do it.
What is it that they do? What is it they continue to do? Are they trying to shove Jesus down your throat?
In JC's name, and and they know how we feel about that.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So, do they come? I mean, when y'all get together, is it in neutral ground? Do you go to their house? You go to the restaurant? Do they come to your house?
It's at their house, you know, and
Oh, no, wait a
they know
minute.
how we feel, and yet they still try to always slip that in somehow.
But
so how can I
you're
handle it
in.
without being rude and still being friends with them?
You are in their home. If you are in their home, it's their domain.
They can do.
And as such, you know, you don't bow wait, let me explain this. You do not bow your head. Jews only bow their heads to God. Okay? You do not say amen at the end of their prayer. You do nothing to say that you assent to what they're saying. You let them pray. Okay? If you are in the mood, you might offer your own prayer immediately after theirs. Okay, what I have done, because I am not a nice person, flat out, I'll tell you. Okay, I'm not a nice person.
Well, and I'm pretty straightforward too myself. So.
So what I would do, and what I've done, is I try to repeat as best as I can every single thing they said in their prayer. It's just that I'm not adding anything about JC in the prayer. So I'm virtually parroting back everything they said. Okay,
but
I'm just not saying it about their God, small g. I'm saying it about God. So at the end, I would say either, and this we pray in your name. I know who I mean by your name. Okay, whereas they say JC's name. But it's exactly the same prayer. And by the way, when I say, and this I pray in your name, that means I can understand the word your my Jewish way, and they can understand the word your in their Christian way.
And see, I'm not that nice.
It's called equivocal languages, yes, but just the act of doing another prayer after they've prayed is a way of saying that theirs is
not correct,
not incorrect, or something you don't believe in. It's a way of making a statement about what they just said.
Right.
Okay, but at
minimum, they are great people, and you know, and we get along great. It's just that, you know, that really makes me cringe every time I hear them say
but you're
that.
in their home. Mm-hmm. Okay, if they're nice about it, if they are welcoming to you, they wouldn't do that.
Right.
Okay, but it's still their home.
Yeah.
Okay. If you invited them to your home, then they shouldn't expect you to say the prayer in the name of a false god.
Mm-hmm. Is this like a Bible study? I mean, not about. Is this?
And I wouldn't.
Exactly. That's the point.
Is this just kind of like a friend hangout when you go to their house? Is it like, hey, y'all come over for a barbecue sort of a thing? Or is it more like a Bible study format?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's a thought. Maybe you could invite them to your house, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and then here's the thing. Rabbi said something earlier that's something I was thinking about too. If they're continuously knowing how strongly you feel about that, and they still put you in the middle of that, personally, I would question exactly how true, if they're really friends, or they're just missionizing you.
Yep.
That's the end of the day.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm trying to correct in it.
As long as they do this in their own home, you can't tell if they're doing this to get you.
Right.
Okay, or this is just, it's their home. They're going to do it their way, as they should. It's their home. But if they try to do it at your home, or if they try to do it like at a restaurant or you know, picnic or whatever, you know, on neutral, William was saying about neutral ground.
So if they done it,
then there's a problem.
If they done it at my home, it wouldn't be bad if I threw them out the door, right?
Well, I wouldn't throw them out, but I would certainly explain to them. You know, in my house we don't pray to. In my house we don't pray to pagan gods.
Throw them out the door, but be nice about it.
Hey, listen. Here at our house, we entered. My wife likes to cook dinner and stuff like once a month, every last Friday. We'll have people over. We'll celebrate birthdays, whatever. All of our friends, whoever's got a birthday, that's the Friday they get. We'll do karaoke, right? Because I love singing karaoke. And my only rule is we don't sing Christian music in my house, because that's giving glory to a false deity. Mm-hmm. Likewise, everybody knows that we don't pray in Jesus' name. They know that every single body knows that anything New Testament is off limits in our house. So they don't even try. which is why we like keeping things at home. I went to a restaurant one time with a group of people, and it was something that was sort of like our plan to go. We had Christian friends who went with us. Well, some of our Christian friends invited their pastor of their church to come. So when we all sat down to eat, the pastor said, "Shall we say grace?" And I said, "Yes, we shall." And then I started saying it myself. I didn't even give him a chance to do it, right? And then I think it kind of threw him for a loop because he's not used to people doing that. But you have the ability to, if you're creative enough, to kind of derail things or redirect things if you're quick on the draw. So
that's good advice, and that's what I called for, because I was just confused on that issue, and if it's a sin,
right?
I didn't know whether or not I could,
when you get put
into that, because just hearing that now, that
I'm with you,
cringes me. I mean,
I'm with you. One of the most awkward moments I had, like any time in the past, was whenever a dear friend of ours had passed away, and this is before I knew too much about the halakha on whether you can go into churches and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, they had her funeral at a Catholic church, and we all went, and we sat way in the back. And when everybody stood up to pray, we stayed seated, and we didn't. And anybody who looked around knew that we weren't involved in their prayers. Man, I felt that was the most awkward, and I felt so dirty.
Yeah.
I was
dirty,
like,
I didn't feel
oh
dirty.
my gosh,
I didn't feel dirty.
That's what happened to us, as a matter of fact, just last night, and we kind of looked at each other, and then we were kind of lost, and that's why I called you. So.
Right.
And I think you answered my question and helped me out a little bit. And,
awesome.
And thank you guys. I love you guys. I love your show.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Tell me your name again. I missed your name.
My name is Gabriel.
Gabriel. Okay.
Hi, Gabe.
It's nice to Gabriel. Okay, very good. Gabriel, thanks for calling in, man. Feel free to call in anytime.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, brother. Take care. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Shalom.
Good use your ball. Here, I got it.
Excuse me. All right.
Yeah, that was a seriously good question. Okay, right on.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Back here. Move your mouse over to here.
Yep. Where are you?
Right there. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty deep stuff, man. Yeah, all you can do when you're put on the spot like that so quickly, and you just have to respond. Sometimes you just got to respond the best you can. I mean, going back and kicking yourself for maybe not doing the right thing in the moment,
right?
You don't need to do that. Just use that for hindsight, and just use it to reshape your next scenario.
Right. Exactly. By the
So,
way, I must
what is that?
I must apologize. Okay. Before I even say this, because I can never resist.
Okay.
But Lisa D, and I'm not making fun of your situation, but you said, my husband told me that I'm apostate and no longer a child of God. I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road, and I asked him, where are you going? And this he told me. He said he's going to go down to the Asger's farm, think he's going to join a rock and roll band and camp out on the land and try to set a soul free.
Are you quoting a song?
Me? I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road. Okay, sorry. Lisa, every time I see child of God, that goes to my head. Sorry. Sorry.
Delane,
okay.
She says, shalom, y'all. Wow, you guys together finally? Yes.
Finally.
Woohoo! Double up, baby.
Actually, that was a special effect.
Yeah, this total CGI. He's really not here. You can't...
When tribes are regathered, will I automatically be part of my dad's tribe?
Mom's tribe, maybe.
Well, I'm not sure what Lori means. It says right here.
Oh, yeah.
When tribes are regathered, will I automatically be part of my dad's tribe? Yes. If your dad was Jewish, then yes. Okay, that's why we'll still have.
Well, the dad describes. Oh, yeah, the tribe. Yeah, because tribal will be the father, but whether you're Jewish or not, it goes to the mother. Okay,
like the 12 lost tribes, or 13 if you want to take the half tribes as a tribe.
What? No, Levi was one of. Oh, as well as Judah. Oh, okay. Never mind. Hold on. Levi was one of what? The lost tribe? No, Levi was part of Judah, wasn't it? In the southern kingdom.
Well, the Levites were all over the place, and they did the service in the temple, but wasn't it the Levites and especially the Kohanim? Certainly, but I thought the Levites too didn't have land anywhere.
Right. That they were part. I always thought they were part of Judah, not part of the northern kingdom, because when the kingdom split,
History.
right?
Not
Okay.
my long suit. I'd
Right,
have to
carry
look
on.
it up. But Levites, the individual Levites were everywhere because they didn't have land.
Why is this here?
The name above.
I
have no
didn't.
idea what
I
that
didn't
means.
see the context. I saw in the earlier comment, but it says shalom. So,
Shalom. That's
I'm-
where he starts. But he
I'm
just, I don't know what that
curious.
means.
Clean starter. I'm not sure. Are you messianic? I'm not really sure.
The
So,
name above all names.
all right, let's catch that. You
Okay.
can roll over and click it.
Oh, yes.
There you go. Introduce your caller.
Hi, welcome to TNT. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Very good.
That's not what we say on my radio.
That's okay. That's good.
Yeah, Brock again.
Brock, man, it's been such a long time. How you been?
I know. How do you?
I know it's been forever. No,
Hey, if you
I
got
actually
the
called 'cause
questions-
I
if
just
you got
had a
the
question
questions-
pop in my head because you were talking about the tribes.
Okay.
Whatever happened with Joseph and his? Did he have a tribe, or how did that work out?
Go ahead.
No.
No,
You
go
know this stuff
ahead,
better
go
than I
ahead.
do.
No, I
Okay,
don't.
so Joseph
History.
basically, okay, so Jacob, Israel, had approached, and correct me on this because this has been a long time since I've actually studied up on this. But okay, so Jacob, upon returning to Mitzrayim, while he was there, so he basically blessed Ephraim and Manasseh, and said basically to Joseph, these are going to be mine now. They're going to be numbered among the tribes now. Because so mathematically, like the Levites were set apart. So
There were half tribes.
So Ephraim and Manasseh were the half tribes, right? So they basically became part of the tribes. Now Joseph himself, I guess, how does that tie in? That would be my question. Because if Joseph wasn't considered a tribe,
but
but his two sons were considered half tribes,
They were considered a half tribe, but they were still his sons.
right? So he
you
would be
still-
in.
He would still. You can either count. That's what I was saying earlier.
Okay,
you can either
got it.
count 12 tribes, including Joseph, or 13 if you're going to count the half tribes as tribes.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
But they're still the sons of Joseph. They were just to get their own counting or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
As a matter
Right.
of fact, well, yeah.
Oh, I think I'm missing. Hold on, let me go down. There's the bottom of it right there. Okay, woohoo! Everybody just like a pro.
Yeah, we live in southern Missouri. I can't believe all these people who are now in southern Missouri now that I no longer go back yearly to Missouri. I used to be in Springfield every July 4th week, the whole week.
Gum ice cream, and so what is gum ice cream? I've never heard of that. I've heard of like Dr. Pepper flavored bubble gum.
Well, no, there's
And fudge-
bubblegum flavored ice cream.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Rabbi and I are from the same music era.
Thank you.
Tonight the Owl. Or yeah, tonight. Whoa.
No,
okay.
no, that's what's his name?
Phil Collins.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Shalom, Matthew X. Man, it's so good to see so many viewers out there. I really don't want to end.
Neither do I. I'm
Yeah.
not. Don't look at me.
Give us a call. Yeah, somebody out there, give us a call if you just want to say hi, want to say hi to the rabbi, whatever. Oh, Brock is still connected. Brock, hang on. Oh, he just hung up. Sorry, I thought I actually disconnected with him already. Brock, love you, man.
Yeah.
You
And
just
if you got the call. The questions. Keep calling.
Yep.
Rabbi,
So,
please explain how Philippians 2:11 is a lie and completely false. Now we'll have to go to Philippians 2:11.
got you covered. Philippians 2:11. Kind of wonder if Sean Connery is a Christian. That was just dumb. Okay, whatever. Okay, Philippians 2:11. Are you looking on your?
I thought I heard a little bit of Sean Connery.
You did,
voice
yeah,
there.
yeah. I do a great Reba McEntire thing too. It's like, hello, I'm Reba McEntire. I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Well,
Yeah. I do a great Reba McEntire.
Caller, you are live. Let's wait.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Welcome to the show. You're live on the air.
Hi, this is Angela Lemoyne.
Hi, Angela. Welcome. What's the question you have for us tonight?
I would like for y'all to elaborate a little bit more on, like, whenever you attend funerals or weddings of immediate families, and it's a Christian church, or a Catholic church. We're from South Louisiana, and everyone here is, Christian, deep rooted in the Catholic
Mm-hmm.
churches. And we just had this situation last weekend where our dear friend passed away, and I got stuck in a rosary, and I just wanted to escape. I was
Right.
just, like, I didn't know what to do without humiliating, anybody around me, or it's like, how do you handle those situations whenever it is an immediate family member? Because people are looking at us like, well, what are they going to do?
Go ahead, Rabbi. What I was going to say would work. Don't hang up yet. What I was going to say would be fairly easy to do if it wasn't a direct family member. Like, for example, even if it was a distant relative or a friend or whatever, and that would be simply don't go to the actual wake. What do you call the wake thing? Where you see the casket, because that's usually inside a church. But you can go follow them later to the grave site.
Right.
But don't go to the church. And I could see how doing that could cause some really, really heavy waves with your family. But then again, part of me is thinking, what better way to let them know where you stand? But I don't know how insensitive that would be. You know what I mean, Rabbi?
Well,
Right.
I must tell you, I'm not sure I understood. I could hear her.
Whenever it's kind of like a conversation earlier. Whenever somebody dies, an immediate family member,
oh boy,
or someone really close to their family, I mean, can they go to the funeral inside the church and sit there and go through all this stuff? Or should they avoid that altogether and just go to the after service?
Because it's family.
Right.
And after the service isn't what they want you at. They want you standing with them as
So
they're dead, as being buried in the ground.
So what does she do?
Well, what you said you had done a while ago, namely to stay in the back of the church, if it's in a church, sometimes the wake, like you said, I wouldn't go to the wake.
Right.
But the actual funeral service itself, if you feel compelled to go because it's family, you're going to get all sorts of pressure, then stay in the back. You're not part of the service. You're not going to take a call. What's it called? Do the the wine and wafer. You're not going to take part in that, okay? But your presence, okay, is what's comforting to them. They still are going to see you there.
So you said something really good. Stay, no joke, if you feel like you have to go, very, very back of the building. You be the first one out the door when the door's open.
Right.
Because you don't want to get trapped in the church when everybody's up talking, socializing, and then you're really going to be uncomfortable because you're going to have to start engaging. But if you're going there to save face or because you feel like you need to be there, just stay by the back door, and as soon as it's time to open up, you can go out there and maybe wait in your car and then follow them out to the site if that's where you want to go, and then you can become more relaxed there.
Look, even I have seen plenty of explicitly Catholic cemeteries in Louisiana, okay, and they usually have statues, Jesus, Mary.
Oh man, really?
They still have. They're very. I have a lot of icons. Okay, symbols of everything, even just the cross. Okay, especially, but usually they're crucifixes. Usually they're Jesus. They're any number of that kind of stuff. So even the cemetery might be make you feel a little weird.
But at least you're in the open space.
But you're in the open space, and look, they want to be able to look up and see a loved one there. And your presence is what gives them comfort. You're not there to have deep theological discussions. You're not going to go through some sort of PhD dissertation on why Jesus isn't God or whatever. You're just there to provide comfort and support for a loved one, for the survivors of a loved one. Right? Isn't that right?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But
and the same thing. Would the wedding be the same thing?
Say it again?
Say that last part again.
Would attending a wedding, would we look at it the same way? That we're just there for the loved ones. We're not participating in the...
But you have to make sure that people will see you and you're not participating. The general rule is if they stand, you stand. If they sit, you sit, but you do not kneel.
Here's one thing I say about weddings. Unless it's your daughter, like someone who is immediately, I mean, when I say immediate family, I mean literally your immediate family, one who lives in your household. For anybody else in that case, I would say ditch the wedding because there's going to be so many people there anyway.
Yeah.
Show up at the reception after the wedding.
Right.
Because that's when people are
The
really
actual
going to
party.
notice you're there.
Right, the party.
So I would say don't go to the wedding if it's in a church. Just go to the after party.
You know, it's interesting because
that would be my advice.
you know
just saying.
the booklet that you sign in to show you're there.
Right.
Okay, they have those for funerals.
Okay.
I don't remember them having them at the wedding, but I think I remember seeing them at the reception.
Oh yeah, right. We had ours. My nephew got
sign-in
married,
thing.
and his sign-in thing was actually at the reception, not at the wedding.
Right.
That's a good point.
So I think that also shows that bridegroom and family are going to be all the details that go into making up a wedding. They're going to have on their mind. They're not going to have on their mind who exactly is sitting where.
Right.
Okay.
Did that answer your questions?
Yes, it did. It did. It's
Right.
given us some direction
Very
and
good.
stuff. And
Right.
it's like I said, we just got hit with this past weekend,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't escape it in South Louisiana. Like it's everywhere.
Exactly.
And my husband and I, we kind of like alone on this walk down here.
Wow.
We moved through the Hebrew roots, and we came into truth. And whenever we rejected the Messiah, JC as the Messiah, I mean, we lost fellowship with everyone.
Sure. I know.
And so now we kind of, everybody's looking at us like, well, y'all just nuts.
Exactly.
But,
are you on Facebook?
yes.
Look for me on Facebook. Look for Rabbi Federow on Facebook.
Yeah, but it says Stuart Federow. The word rabbi is not there. It's just Stuart, Stuart, Federow, Federow. So.
Yep, and there you go.
Kind of like you see right here.
Just yeah. So I'm blocking the rabbi with my head.
That's perfectly okay. That's okay. I'm blocking you.
So find us on Facebook, and if you don't have very many friends in this circle, we'll try to connect you with more people who are already on this path.
Right.
Sound good?
Awesome. That sounds great.
Thank you for your questions. It was
Thank y'all.
really good to hear from you. Thank you. Shalom. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so back to Philippians 2:11.
Can we go back to 10 because there's
yes.
a context?
Oh
to
yeah,
this.
yeah. Sorry. Kill the mice. Kill the mice. Okay. All right, here we go. 10. Okay, so wherefore also
that in the name of Jesus every knee should bow, things of heaven and things on earth, things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Caller, sit tight for 1 second, okay?
But Jesus wasn't the Christ and Jesus wasn't Lord, and God has already told us what gives glory to God, and that's not idol worship or worshiping the created as if they were the creator. So
right.
The original question, I think, was, how to respond to that.
Let's see. Let me find it. Let's see. I take it really. What does that mean?
Jews don't have open casket at all.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right, that was a reference to the funeral we're talking about.
Okay, let me see.
Jews don't have open caskets.
Rabbi, can you please discuss Philippians 2:11? Okay,
right.
That's not the original one. That's a repeat.
No, that was it.
No, because he said something about how it's. I thought there was who was it? Who was that? Clean starter. Oh, that's the one who had said only in his name or whatever, or name above all names. Okay, let me see if I can find what I thought was the original one. But that may be maybe that was it. So with that said, let's just act like that was the first one. Just discuss it only. Let's see. Tovia, it's good to see you. William, I sent you a PM on February. Wow. Send me another one, Tovia, because if it was... Oh, wait, this is February. No, this is January.
This is
February
22nd.
Oh, my God. When I sent you a PM on... Oh, that's funny. FB. Not February, but on Facebook. Talking about jumping to conclusions
go
here.
Down because
okay.
He continues his statement.
Okay, Tovia, send it to me again so it's fresh. Copy, paste it, resend it again so it's fresh on my list, okay? All right, so we're going to go back to Philippians 2:11. He just wants you to discuss it. Okay, so you started it right there. Clean starter. And we're going to pull it back up here. I'm not going to show it to you guys because I don't have enough screen.
Right. That in the name of Jesus, every knee should bow of things in heaven and things on earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father.
Question.
Yes.
If that didn't say Jesus, if it said Messiah, Doesn't say Jesus, but it says,
Doesn't
listen,
matter.
I know, but that's my point. I want you to discuss it based on what I just said, and that every tongue should confess that Messiah
Is Lord.
Meaning whoever the Messiah might be, right, coming in the future, which is the case. There is no past Messiah. Well, the past Messiah.
Yes.
Okay, so will every knee bow and confess that he is like the Lord of the land?
Lord of
There's
the
no-
land? Yes, because he becomes the king.
But it doesn't say in Tanakh, does it say anywhere that you have to believe in the Messiah when he comes?
You don't believe in the Messiah, but the Messiah still becomes like the ruler
Okay.
over the earth, okay? And like any human flesh and blood king, born of two human parents, etc.,
Okay,
you still would show respect to them like any other human.
got it. Got
But
it.
Jesus wasn't the Christ, the Messiah, and the Messiah isn't God, which is the implication of that. And the glory of God is that we do what God says in the Hebrew Scriptures, which would force us to reject Jesus Christ as Lord.
Right. Very good.
Right.
Okay, we may come back to that. So, caller, please tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Brock again.
I'm telling you, man,
My
it'd be
wife
much
actually wanted me
cheaper.
to ask a question this time.
Be just cheaper to drive down here. I keep telling you that.
My wife wants me to actually ask a question for herself this time.
Go for it.
My wife is possibly starting a job pretty soon. She already had her interview. She said it went good. And they had told her in the interview they like to do things for the community, especially with the Christmas parade. And during that, they want everyone to contribute in making the float that works for them. Now, the problem with that is not the fact that she can probably easily just get out of that, but as you know, I've told you before, we're converts to the Jewish faith. And the lady who interviewed her is actually a woman from the church we used to attend.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So, I can tell you Rabbi Singer and I discussed some of this in great length, and also Rabbi Coffman and I. And the thing about it is, if you believe that God is one and that there is no secondary or third Godhead in the whole sense of the Jesus thing, the Christmas soul idea, and you acknowledge that God is one, it's absolutely forbidden for you to participate in anything that would especially go into promoting it or creating it. I mean, it's in Torah. If you really want to get crazy with it, does it not say in the Tanakh that you shall destroy their idols? Doesn't say anything about building them up or making them pretty. I mean, not that that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying go and destroy this stuff, but the point being is it's completely forbidden. In fact, Rabbi Singer went as far as to say, when you participate in something like that, you are driving a wedge between you and the Creator. You're putting more distance between you and Him. So if your wife wants that, which obviously she doesn't, it's going to be a situation.
But I have a question because I didn't catch exactly what you were talking about. This is a Christmas parade?
It's a new job she had, and
Right.
she will be required every time that there's Easter, Christmas, she will be required to help them decorate and to help them participate as her job requirement.
But if it's a Christmas float, it doesn't necessarily, as a matter of fact, I would argue rarely have anything whatsoever to do with Jesus. A Christmas float could be nothing but snowflakes and snowmen.
But is still participating in promoting their Christmas parade. And they would know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would like to know more about the parade and what they do in the parade, and if there's participating in the parade may not be to build the whatever it's called, the float. It could be maybe handing sandwiches to the people who are making it. Okay, I mean it just depends on
what they're going to have her do.
Right, and where your personal standards are going to be set, because you may not want to support it in any way, shape, or form since it is a Christmas parade. Okay. But, you don't want to lose your job either. I mean, you still have to make a living.
Right. Well, here's the thing, too.
And this is part of what a member of my synagogue wrote a brilliant blog called, you know how there is white privilege? Well, there's also Christian privilege. The assumptions made, no, seriously, Brent, it's the assumptions that Christians make that the whole world is Christian and that the whole world has to comply with their desires, needs, wants, and religious expressions. So it's part of the Christian privilege that's out there.
My wife wanted me to share with you guys too, with you, Brent, and your wife. or Brock, sorry. Anyway, my wife works for volunteer work for the Texas Hill Country Crime Stoppers, whatever. She does their accounting and stuff. And that one of their requirements was you got to come at all the meetings. You got to, every time an event is taking place, you got to be there. But they do Christmas floats and they do all this Easter stuff and all this other stuff. And my wife said, I am not going. If you want to let me go, fine, be that way. And they didn't let her go because she's valuable. Mm-hmm. So my honestly, Brock, here would be my blatant advice, and it would be simply, if your wife just got this job and they're telling her right off the bat that it's mandatory, that you do not have freedom of religion, I would tell them, sorry, I can find a job somewhere else. Even if it takes you 2-3 months, tough it out, bite the bullet, pinch your pennies, and let God bless you with a different job. That would be my bold advice.
It would be a very interesting thing to me personally to see what the EEOC, what's it called?
I have no idea.
EOC, Equal Opportunity Employment. It's the laws.
EOEIC, right?
Whatever it's called. It's the laws that say that they cannot discriminate on the basis of race, religion, culture, all these other. There's a whole laundry list. And how this would fall into that, because if they're requiring you to do something that's against your religion,
that's not freedom of religion, and that's actually against the law. They have to honor. That's my point.
Yeah. The EEOC or EOEC or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But it'd be interesting what they would have to say about it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not an easy answer, but
it's not, and it's going to be an answer that's going to vary how you deal with it. And how you deal with it in one situation may not be how you want to deal with it in another situation. Okay, it just depends on exactly what they want of her, and what she is or is not willing to do.
Right.
But it's clearly a Christmas parade, an Easter parade. These are not winter holiday parades or spring holiday parades or whatever. They're explicitly stated as Christian, and that's they don't understand.
Well, there you go, man. Hopefully that answer will at least give you something to chew on.
All right, thank you. I'll probably be calling back again in like 5 minutes.
That's fine. If
Hey, bring as many questions as you want.
Nobody else is calling. Come ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. Okay, bro. Thanks, buddy. All right, very good.
Okay, so would you...
Yes, here. I'm going to let you scroll because you know exactly where you want to look.
Well, not necessarily, but it was something...
So I got to tell you guys a joke. Well, yeah. So you're gonna have to pause. Once you find it, just sit on it.
Okay.
This is probably one of the funniest.
I literally could now. I could literally go over there and sit on
it. No, remember this is CGI.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so probably one of my favorite jokes I think I've ever heard, and I'll try to keep it short. So basically, this the Emperor of China. Do you know this already?
No, I was responding to what Lisa
I was like, wow, man, you caught this like quick. It's like you hear the first tune of a song, you know exactly what it is and when it was wrote. So, okay, so maybe I won't tell you this joke. Hey, the questions
time left for you.
The questions take priority.
I'm on my way to.
This thing isn't working here. Let me see.
I found myself somewhere.
Okay.
Sorry.
Welcome to the show, caller. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm calling from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Oh, welcome to the show, Michael. What's the question you have for us tonight?
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Now, I have a question for the rabbi. One of the things that I've been seeing recently are people arguing against the Torah in terms of making moral arguments about slavery and saying that God approves of slavery. And how moral is that? And so I'm wondering, what arguments can be given back to those people that argue that?
Actually, there are quite a few arguments.
That's good. That's good, actually, and I think you're going to really enjoy the answers on this. So if you want to, you can disconnect now and just then tune in for the answer. Okay.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your call. Okay.
There's a couple of things. Couple of responses that I think are pretty good. First of all, it means they haven't actually picked up the Bible and read it. Okay?
Yeah.
Funny thing how people assume they know what the Bible says. The word slavery is there, therefore it's chattel slavery like they did with the black community for 400, whatever.
Right.
At any rate, it's not, is the point. The point is that it is more indentured servitude. You go into debt, you work it off, than actual slavery. Also, there were laws worked into the laws that in the 7th year, in the 49th year to the 50th year, they go free. Everything goes back to normal. All debts are canceled. Everything, turns back to the way things were. So you would be immediately freed. There's an element that says that what if a person doesn't want to be freed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait a minute. If a person is a slave and they're beaten with whips and they've got iron chains and all this other stuff, why would they want to stay with the family and remain a slave? It's because there weren't chains. It's not that kind of slavery. It's
right.
an indentured servitude. It is a...
it's closer to... If you think about it for a second, you may agree with me, and if not, you can refine what I'm going to say. The biblical slavery is way more closer to a person in the United States agreeing to work with somebody on a salary, saying, I'll work with you for 1 week, but you have to pay me $800 in exchange because I've got bills that I can't pay without your help, than it is for someone to kidnap somebody or to buy somebody and chain them and make them work for free.
Even slaves...
Is that safe enough to say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's like... anyway, it's now I forgot what it is. I hate when I do that. Okay. Going to what you were saying, however, okay, I would refine it by saying the following. It is, I'm going to work the land for you, or clean your house or whatever.
Right.
And during that time, okay, I am earning my keep. I'm going to be fed. My family will be taken care of.
Right.
Okay. And at the end of which time, okay, there's an agreement of I'm not going to go empty.
Right.
And that's biblically the way it's phrased, as I recall. Okay, you don't let them go out in emptiness or with nothing.
Don't set them go free because they've been
So first of all, my first response would be that they haven't read the Bible. They need to pick up and read it, and if they do, they'll see that it's not the kind of slavery that's called chattel slavery.
Right.
It's more indentured servitude slavery. Okay. Oh, that's what I was going to say. There's also dictates in the Bible, in the Torah, about how you treat slaves you've gotten in war.
Right.
You would think, well, if they're the enemy and now they are they're now your slave, that you can do anything you want. Absolutely not. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is, what right do they have to judge 3,500-year-old laws by modern morality?
Right.
Okay, what right do they have to say that our morality now, okay, can judge the morality of the ancient Near East 3,500 plus years ago? Okay, what gives them the right? And I'll give you another response to them. Modern Hinduism, we were just talking earlier about funerals. In the Hindu faith, for example, if a husband died, and let's face it, men die quicker than their wives, usually, the husband body was burned, and the wife was expected to throw her body onto the funeral pyre and burn herself up. And the United States, no, not the United States, obviously not. England, when it took control over India, basically said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay. My point is that do they think that it was okay for England to get involved into the morality of the Hindu community? Usually they will say yes. Sometimes they will say no. Okay. Well, let's take that even to a better example. Some communities, and there's even a movie, I think, named for this, their marriage ceremony was literally jumping over a broom together. Do they think that's funny? Do they think that should be ridiculed? Do they think that should be put down? Usually they'll say, oh no, that was their culture. Well, our culture is embodied in the laws that talk about slavery in our Bible.
Right.
So why is it okay to do that to the Jews, but not okay to do it to the community that used to jump over a broom to say that they were married?
So I want to.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
In other words, there are plenty of times where the same people who will condemn the Bible for the fact that it even mentions the word slavery, but they would never dream of condemning something in Islam. They would never dream of condemning the Muslim community for how they make their wives wear the what's it called, the black with the I can't think of the name of it. You know what I'm talking about?
It's actually, look right here. It's right there.
Yeah, it's tip on the tongue. Right. Thank you.
Okay.
The point is that
burqa.
Thank you.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, they would never condemn the burqa.
Right.
But they will condemn the Jews. Why is it okay to condemn the Jews for their customs, their laws, which we say come from God, but it's not okay to condemn the Muslim community for what amounts to the same thing?
Okay, so before we take this call,
yes.
I want to point out something that I think may be one of the biggest arguments against biblical slavery that I've heard, and it has to do with whenever an owner, a slave owner, has a male slave that was by himself. He didn't have a family. Okay, and it says that he may have he has the right to, the owner of the slave has the right to pair him up, the male slave, up with one of his female slaves as a way to produce offspring. But if in first glance reading that, it looks like, okay, this guy became a slave, he got married, had children, and then when he left, he had to leave his wife and kids behind. Oh my God. But the context, that's not what the context is. The context is that was a business arrangement that he made with the owner of the slave was, okay, you're going to work for me. Well, here, how about this? I've got this, you can have children with her, but she belongs to me, and so will the child. Are you cool with that? And if they agree to it, then that's like whole arrangement. At the end of the 50 years or 7 years, whatever it is,
you're right.
7?
It's 7 for some things, and the 50th year, the Jubilee year for others.
So at the end of that period, if the guy, I'm going to paraphrase, if the guy falls in love with this woman that he just agreed to have a child with, and he falls in love with him, and then they're spending years together, maybe if they're there for 5 years, whatever, and all of a sudden he loves the wife, he loves the child, and he doesn't want to leave now that he can be set free. He's like, no, I want to stay here because I love my master, I love my wife, my new baby. I don't want to leave them behind. Then he can do the whole thing with the piercing the awl and all this other stuff. So the context of it, like Rabbi was saying, is it's really easy to misjudge something if you, number one, don't know the context. Let me back up. If, number one, you've never read the actual Tanakh, or number two, you don't know the context. So it's really important to gather those things. So with all those things involved, it's not only makes perfect sense, but it's really quite brilliant. So we should take this call.
All right, but we'll come back to one of the comments.
Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name. Where are you calling from?
Wait, you got 2 of them up there.
Yeah, actually click that right there. That's the one we've got on right now. 20-second delay in the video, so they'll probably hear me say hi in about 20 seconds. Actually, they just hung up. Okay, so when you call in, don't hang up, because if you do, you'll lose your place in line. So now we lost both calls. Don't worry about it.
Kind of think I accidentally did that. Oh, there we go.
Right there?
Yep. I think I'm the one who accidentally kind of hung up on her. Him or her.
That is all right. Do me a favor.
Yeah, we're going to go back to that.
Click show right there for me, if you don't mind. Caller, welcome to the show. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Am I on the line?
Yes, you are.
You're live on the air.
Well, this is my good brother, Will.
Hey, how are you? Who am I speaking with? Is this Mordecai?
I'm talking to your brother.
Oh my gosh! It sounded kind of muffled for a minute there. How you doing? It seems it's really neat because it's like we just spoke like today.
Yeah.
How are you doing, my big brother, man? See, it'd be kind of cool to have you sitting next to Rabbi Federow and next to me. We could all, hang out. So, brother, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I wanted to just add a little bit to the topic of slavery in the Torah.
Okay, first, before you
You
do,
guys talk,
brother, before you do, everybody, this is my chavrusa, if you wanna call it that. He's the one. Whenever I am trying to study things, this is my dear adopted big brother, and his son's a rabbi. I mean, he's very well taught, and he guides me through Talmudic studies and through the Shulchan Aruch whenever I inquire of him to help me study, and he teaches me all this stuff. So the guy we have on the phone right now, it's a real pleasure to have on the air. With that said, Brother Mordecai, go right ahead.
okay, and by the way, all of your listeners, Will never exaggerates, okay?
Couldn't hear me?
He said we'll never exaggerate.
Never.
Never.
Not 100 million years from now. Right.
How are you, Rabbi Federow?
Thank God. How are you?
Great, thank you. I just heard a phenomenal lecture. Unfortunately, it's in Hebrew, but a fantastic insight into the whole subject of slavery. So just to go through the list, we had one type of Jewish slave where someone stole money and he had no funds to repay, so the Bet Din, the justices, the Jewish judges, were able to sell him to pay up that which he stole if he had no money. And as you mentioned, it was a 6-year deal. That was it. With the exception, if he loved it so much over there, then he would stay until the Jubilee, which is the Yovel.
Gotcha.
Now, just to think about that a moment, to contrast that type of slavery with the slavery that we're all aware of, where we took people against their will and sold them off and abused them, as much of black slavery was. And can you imagine you were taken forcibly by the Bet Din to become a slave to pay your debts, and the guy still wants to stay on.
Wow.
Now, as Rabbi Federow mentioned before, if the way the Torah says, the halacha is that the Talmud states that whoever buys a slave actually becomes a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right,
because, right, Misha kana evet kana rabo. So if you have one pillow to sleep on, and you tell your slave, hey, there's only one pillow in the house, and I'm the master, the halacha states that you must give your slave
the pillow. That
one pillow. You sleep on the floor. That's an open halacha. And worse than that, I say worse than that, let's say you acquired a slave who happened to have been a scientist and was whatever, he had some standard of living. You have to maintain his standard of living, and you cannot make him do work which he's not accustomed to doing.
Oh, wow, that's deep. Yeah.
Okay, that's so we see that. That's why the Talmud says that when you buy a slave, you're really buying a master.
Wow.
If there's only one left, he gets it. If you have the one fine cup of wine left, he gets the best wine.
You know about the...
And just go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and just like I mentioned before, the fact that a slave, quote-unquote slave, would beg to stay on, and there's a very interesting halacha that the Torah says that you took his ear lobe and put it up against the mezuzah, meaning the post of the door, and you made a little tiny hole in his ear as if he was getting a piercing, okay? And the Gemara says, because the same ear that heard that the Jews are my avadim, meaning you're a slave to Hashem, you're a servant of Hashem, and he's willing to give up that servitude for the servitude of a human being, that's what that whole process is all about. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that is incredible.
That's Judaism.
You made me think of something, Mordecai. I talked to somebody one time, and it was one of my rabbis. and we were talking about the laws of like your pets, for example. And I was told that a lot of Jewish people will opt out of not having pets just because the rules for maintaining them and taking care of them are so stringent.
It's not just pets; it's like any animal.
It's like, wow. I mean, and it makes so much sense. Same with the slave. That if the laws are so strict on how well you have to treat them, you better second guess before you agree to take a slave.
Right, and you see that. I'll get to the next type of slave, and then I'll go back to this one for a moment.
Okay.
The other type of slave, which you may seem is not as severe, which is really shows the level of how low this person fell. It doesn't have to be where a person stole and had the money to return. It could be a person who is at such a bad place, and he says, you know what? Obviously, welfare wasn't an option back then, and food stamps and all the other stuff, and free cell phones. He says, you know what, I got to sell myself, and, hopefully after 6 years, I'll have some money saved up. This guy is really worse off than the first guy, because he's voluntarily giving up his freedom.
Mm.
Now, just to make a point, what you mentioned before, that the master is allowed to give him a woman to live with, and to bear children. Now, this woman doesn't have to be a Jewish woman.
Okay.
He's allowed to give him to a so here you have an Orthodox rabbi.
Oh, wow.
Who says, I can't make it on my own, and he's allowed to live as a husband and wife with a non-Jewish woman at that time. So you see that his level of quote-unquote Judaism has sunk.
Oh, wow.
Because for the time being, he's allowed to live with a non-Jewish woman. Now, the third type is called Ama Ivriya. That means a woman, a girl, that was sold into servitude by her father. Now, that sounds like crazy, right?
Right.
How do you justify that?
Right.
So obviously, the person that's selling his daughter because he needs the money, he's willing to sell his 9-year-old daughter to someone, is a very sick person. Obviously, it's not a very functioning household. It was a mitzvah. It was a mitzvah to take in this girl. And just like an Eved Ivri, meaning a Jewish slave, this girl had to be treated at all standards, and it was the best thing in the world. She wasn't allowed to be treated like any other person,
right,
like any other slave. In addition to that, when she turns 12, she goes free, whether she sold when she was 6 or when she was sold when she was 11.
Hmm.
And it was even a mitzvah for the slave owner, or the master, I should say, to give him to his son to marry, or even for himself to marry, so this girl could have some stability.
Right, right. That makes sense,
so
because in a destitute situation, right? Like for the father. I mean, I was raised in.
But still, who would?
I know. I'm with you.
Destitute today and tomorrow. Who would sell their daughter?
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's just destitute. The father is a sick person,
right.
And Besdin again would say the best chances for this girl growing up normal is to become someone to be so-called purchased by someone.
Yeah, that's.
It's not a sex trafficking or slave trafficking. It's none of that.
Right. Right.
So really, what you see from these 3 points, from these 3 different types of slaves that we're talking about, slavery was really a rehabilitation center.
Nice.
It was an institution of rehabilitation. That's what it really was.
That's deep.
And only someone who knew how to treat a slave properly, whether it was a girl or a boy or a man, Besdin would never sell to some scumbag.
Mm-hmm.
Never allow it, because this was strictly a rehabilitation program. That's what it was.
Wow. Right. Mm-hmm. So for someone so for a goy or a Christian or someone to try to critique the Hebrew Scriptures and to bash it and to mock it, saying how could God ever allow slavery, you clearly don't know what you're talking about, because it's truly it's such a sanctified and such a holy set of rules. It's unfathomable. And man, I'll tell you what, Mordecai, thank you, brother, so much for going in depth on that. That's really deep. It really was. It's refreshing.
Okay, Tzaddik, I'm so happy to talk to you again, even if it's twice a day.
Hey,
Our pleasure.
my pleasure
Okay,
too,
Rabbi,
brother.
have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all your great work.
Okay, thank you, brother. Love you, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Shalom, shalom. Bye bye.
Okay.
That's cool, right, man. That was cool. I want
I want to get to something.
Go for it.
But before we do, I just want to.
Let's do this real quick.
You know what the Dred Scott? Go ahead. What?
Give me 1 second, because it is actually getting a little late. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the phone lines because there's a few things we're going to talk about to finish up the show. So as of right now, everybody, the phone lines are closed, but we're not going to stop recording just yet. We're just going to kind of start taking it down a notch. And there you go. You can start scrolling again.
All right.
Let's see. There we go. Just as a visual reminder for everybody. So
the U.S. Dred Scott decision.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Dred Scott's decision. St. Louis, actually, on the courts. It was American law, that said this was Civil War era.
Okay.
Preceding the Civil War, I think that. Well, anyway, the point is that a slave who ran away from his master and made it to the free area, the Dred Scott decision said that he had to be returned to the owner.
Oh, but that's the opposite of Torah.
Exactly my point. That's just another one thing that treats slavery different than this kind of slavery that people hear about. All right,
and in fact, you just made me think of something that maybe an answer to something I've been curious about for a long time. After listening to Brother Mordecai here explain all these details, and then now just what you just said, and it's reflecting that what this just said is opposite of Torah, I was always curious, why was it that whenever a slave ran away from his master that you're not to return him? But now I get it. Because he wouldn't be running away
unless there was a reason.
Unless he was being mistreated. And you're not allowed to mistreat him.
And they're not allowed to return him.
Thank you. Man, that is, oh my gosh, that is so huge. Okay.
I know
wonderful.
I know Cindy Gray is not listening, but the first topic we discuss isn't the only topic we're going to discuss for an hour and 41 minutes.
Right, true.
So, sorry she got off. I don't think people understand that when there's a label on the
that's just
videos. That's just the first topic will be.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay. Yeah. Also, Lisa, repeatedly up here, I can't find the.
Hold on, go back to. I want to see. Let's see. You can actually show that.
Okay. Let's see. You told Lisa D. You told your husband about not believing JC is God, and his response to you, which I can't find now, but somewhere you talk about how his response is that you're an apostate.
Wait a minute. Is this the Lisa that I know? Look, follow for the bottom of comments, because I've been talking with the Lisa on Facebook, and her story sounds just. I bet it is
Lisa D.
Lisa. Well, on Facebook, the names are different. So
okay,
Lisa Bulwark Shofar or something like that.
All right. Well, at any rate,
because it would give me a better idea what the context of the whole story is.
Well, she's talking about how she's talking to her husband, and her husband said you're an apostate.
This is her.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the deal. They've got a young boy. Six-ish, something like that. He has basically criticized her in a pretty noticeable manner, and it seems like he's not letting her teach the boy, but instead he's taking the boy at the church and telling her she's the apostate and she doesn't know what to do in this situation. I will tell you something. My wife said that was just a thought that. In my mind, I was thinking that blows my mind, but then I was thinking, oh my God, it's brilliant, but it's uncomfortable to think about. She's in a situation where it doesn't look like there's any hope of him changing. She's stuck in a situation of spiritual abuse, psychological abuse, maybe not physical abuse. She never mentioned anything like that, but in a situation where her relationship with her husband and her son are in jeopardy on a daily basis because of her spiritual decision. And my wife said something really I would say out there, but it's really not. But the thing about it is, I asked her, I said, what would you do in a situation like this? And she said, of course, we talked about many things. This is just one thing she said. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. She said, if it was no sign of recovery, and this is going to be like a day after day after day, and Lisa, I hope you're listening to this. She said, if it was me, she goes, I would divorce him. She goes, at least that way I would have custody of him, because a woman always gets custody unless they're proven unfit. And then I could take him wherever I want to, anytime I want to, and he would only have him 2 days a week, or 2 days every, whatever it is, every other weekend or whatever. I say that's brilliant. In a situation like this, and I've met a handful of people who are in engaged relationships like that,
right.
and it never gets better. It's like, I mean, they will go 10 and they will say, well, we can't divorce, you can't divorce. Well, the whole divorce taboo thing is a very Christian taboo. Not that God wants you to divorce, but it's not something, divorce is not forbidden in a situation
Hardly.
in Judaism. So I'm just saying, I thought what she said was brilliant. If it's a non-recoverable situation and there's no hope in that situation, that's something, I don't know. Rabbi, should I have even mentioned that?
No, look, you have to mention it.
Okay.
Okay. It may not be an easy choice, but
Right.
it's still a choice.
Right.
It's still something to think about. And if it gets really bad, it's the best choice. But Lisa, the only thing I wanted to say, I can't find the quote, of course, but you said somewhere that your husband was saying that you are an apostate.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you're going from the wrong belief system to the right one? It's not that you're an apostate, okay? It's that you found the truth. So when he tells you you're the apostate, you're not the apostate. You've left lies for the truth. Now, you're not going to get him to believe that or to understand that. I just want you to understand that. I'm sure you actually do understand that. But there is something that Christianity calls planting the mustard seed of faith. What they have to also understand is that there's something called planting the mustard seed of doubt. Is when you quote something that contradicts it, when you bring up an issue that makes them confront the silliness of their belief system, you are planting that mustard seed of doubt, which will grow over time, God willing, please God, that it'll grow, and you never know down the road what'll happen. And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
William was talking about the possibility of divorce. Okay, sometimes the idea of divorce hanging over someone's head, they might start thinking, well, wait a minute.
It might soften up a little bit.
It might soften up a lot,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to lose their family. And,
Yeah.
I know horror stories with people with situations like yours. I know it's not easy. Okay, I know it's very difficult, and they make it even more difficult. But God gave you a backbone too, and you have the ability and the right to respond and point out things. And when you point them out subtly, nicely,
Yeah,
politely,
nice, for
kindly,
sure.
but what about this? Or how does that square with that? You're planting that mustard seed of doubt, and you never know how it'll grow.
Right, right.
So
in other words, don't remain silent, but in all that you do, be delicate with what you do.
right, and don't give up hope.
Yeah. Keep to it. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's a Jewish attitude towards despair, that a person who despairs is like an idolater, because they're saying God can't help it,
Yeah, and they're giving more focus and energy on their problem
than on the God who can solve it,
Right.
or can give you the strength to get through it.
Nice. Yeah. Well put.
So, at any rate, I saw a number of times where you said that, and I just wanted to comment for what it's worth. Okay.
That'll boost you all the way down to the tail, and then you can scroll back up. Oh. Maybe. Oh, you're hitting the wrong button. There you
All
go.
right.
That works too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
Jamie, I have no earthly idea. Is open Orthodoxy a heretical branch of Judaism? I don't know enough about it, frankly. I think it's so new and so controversial. I don't really know anything about it. Okay.
Oh, man. Well, Rabbi?
Anybody who... Yeah, American slavery wasn't Jewish slavery, biblical
Right,
slavery.
right.
So when they say slaves had it better under slavery, Blacks had it better than slavery is an idiot.
Let's
see.
Let's see. There you go. Just to let you guys know, if you're putting comments in the YouTube channel and you click enter and it doesn't show up, it's because sometimes YouTube will automatically
Go ahead. Sorry.
YouTube will automatically flag anything that they think might be suspicious as possible spam, and they wait for me to review it before I say show it.
Right.
But a lot of times I never even see them to begin with. So if they never show up, it's not because I'm hiding them. It's because they're flagging them and I didn't see them. Anytime you see your comment finally show up like 20 minutes after you typed it, it's probably because I went back and saw it and approved it. So just letting you know.
And I don't get to see the approval question. Only William does. So
you
when I'm
can't
in Houston,
see it from
I can't
yours.
approve anything.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Motorhead writes, Protestants and Catholics did the slave trade, 98% African and Indians, Asians. Didn't you kind of neglect to say that the Muslim community rounded them up, sold them to slavery? Kind of like neglected to include the Muslim community in the slave trade. But, okay. All right, let's see if I can do this.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, Rabbi, I think we should probably go and wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess
Because otherwise we'll just keep going to like 2 o'clock in the morning.
My God, 4.5 hour drive for just 2 hours on the air.
Hey, it's the double whammy.
Yep.
2 weeks in a row, double whammy.
Do what?
And last week we had a 2-hour show too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Think we should start doing 2-hour shows? We'll aim for one, and then we'll just leave the door open.
And we always leave the door open. If people have questions, okay, and I am capable of answering them, I don't claim to be able to. I don't.
She's like, she's not waving. She's saying 2 hours, definitely 2 hours.
No. Your wife was going peace.
She more pieces of pieces of the show. So here, let me borrow this. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I forgot what I was going to say. What I was going to say is I don't necessarily know every answer to every question, but as long as they're asking questions that I can answer,
right? Yeah, agreed.
Or have my own 2 cents to put in, I'll be happy to.
Right.
I don't care. It's fine by me. I enjoy doing.
Very
this.
good. Oh, and by the way, I've got to tell you something very important. All the videos, probably from here on out, there's going to be little commercial links added about every 30 minutes in between the shows. And I actually had a faithful follower of the show ask me why there were so many commercials spread out through the show this time. And it's simply, a simple answer is this, is Tanakh Talk is not free.
No, it's not.
They
need to donate.
It is to you guys, but it's not to me.
Very simple. If you enjoy what you see on Tanakh Talk, on any of the shows that William puts on, throw a little money into the kitty. Throw a little money into the, what's it called? PayPal or what's the other one?
Patreon. Yeah.
Patreon?
Patreon.com. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
So
okay, throwing a little money in the kitty. Okay, pretend you're at a church and the basket comes by.
Yeah.
Even though Judaism, you don't handle money on Shabbat.
Right.
Gee. Doesn't look like Shabbat to me.
No, that's true. Okay, so to further that point, the commercials are there because YouTube will actually pay its pennies, but the pennies will eventually add up. YouTube actually pays for you to actually have commercials on your shows, and the more shows you have, the more commercials, the more money will actually finally keep going into. That's why a lot of these YouTube channels are able to do the YouTube thing full time, because they've got all these thousands and thousands of views, and they've got these commercials out in there, and they actually get royalties from the commercials. And so that actually is money that can eventually come here to help me pay for the expenses here. And so that's why you're going to start seeing more often. So just be patient with them. Don't get aggravated with them. You can probably even click past them. You probably don't even have to watch them, but I do need to put them up there. I've got to try to do something to continue generating.
What is Super Chat?
I have no idea. I don't know. I've seen Super Chat, but I don't know what it is. Okay. Mia, maybe you could send me a message through YouTube and explain that to me a little bit. I guess I could just do a search on YouTube to find out what Super Chat and how it benefits. So, but anyway, that's the reason why. So, just to let you guys know ahead of time, all right? So, but anyway, so that is it, and we are going to wind this baby down.
One more special effect. One more special effect.
Okay, that was really some seriously high-tech equipment right
That was
there.
really high tech. I mean, to be able to do that. And when I'm in Houston and you're in Kingsland, Texas.
Well, then I'm going to have to go like this. I'm going to be looking at the screen. I'm going to be like, where's his face? Oh, there it is. There's his nose right there. Oh, it's easier to do in person.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. It's been such a joy and a pleasure. Love seeing all the chat on
By the way,
YouTube
last
chat.
week we had someone who would ask a question, would answer it. They'd ask a question, would answer it. Would ask a question, they answer. 4 or 5 times they asked a question. Then the last time they asked a question was right before we got off, and they got upset that we didn't answer the question.
Oh,
like
really?
we didn't answer their question enough. It must have answered 6 questions of theirs.
Right.
But it was time to go on.
Yeah,
and he got mad that we didn't answer his question.
And
or she.
Right.
Right.
So y'all be patient with us. We'll be patient with you. But we love you. Thank you for tuning in. And just know that we look forward to every single week and can't wait to see you guys again next week.
So see you next week.
So we're going to have a few more opportunities of having this cute guy in the studio a few more times in the next few months. That's going to be great.
February, March.
I am looking forward to it big time. Shalom, shalom, everybody. It's been fun. Shavua Tov, and we'll see you later. Bye.
אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד איפוק זו העוצמה ויתור זו הגדולה השאיפה והכמיהה אני אתה אתם תמיד תמיד כולם ביחד חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד איפוק זו